The metal locker slammed against Emma Thompson's spine with a sickening crack. Her threadbare sweater ripped at the shoulder as rough hands shoved her again, the fabric tearing like paper. "Please, not again." The whisper barely escaped her lips as laughter echoed through the empty hallway. Emma's fingers trembled against the cold metal, not from fear, but from something else. Something she'd spent 6 years learning to control. The familiar heat was building in her muscles, begging for release. "Look at her shake," Matt Davidson sneered, his baseball jersey stretched tight across his chest. "Like a little mouse." Chris Harrison stepped closer, his breath reeking of protein shakes and arrogance. The captain's badge on his Letterman jacket caught the fluorescent lights. "Not shaking. She's just cold. Guess that's what happens when you wear garbage bags for clothes." David Park laughed, completing their trio. His throwing arm flexed as he reached for Emma's backpack. "Let's see what trash keeps in here." Emma forced her breathing to slow. Count to 10, just like Dr. Martinez taught her. 1 Mississippi. 2 Mississippi. The heat in her muscles began to fade. The hallway clock showed 7:45 a.m., 15 minutes before the morning rush. 15 minutes where Emma Thompson could disappear into her routine of polishing trophy cases and mopping floors before anyone important arrived. She'd been invisible for 3 years at Westfield High. The girl who ate lunch alone. The girl who wore the same 3 sweaters in rotation. The girl who kept her head down and her secrets buried. Until this morning. Until she'd heard something she shouldn't have. "Wait!" Chris held up his hand, stopping David from dumping her backpack. "You hear that? Footsteps. Multiple sets. Getting closer. Shit, someone's coming." Matt backed away, straightening his jersey. "Johnson's doing morning rounds." Chris's eyes locked onto Emma's. Dark, calculating, dangerous. "This isn't over, trash girl. You keep that mouth shut about what you heard, or things get real bad for you. Understand?" Quick pause here. If Emma's story is resonating with you, hit that like button. It really helps others find these stories. And hey, if you want to support more content like this, there's a thanks button below. Every bit helps me keep sharing these powerful narratives. Now, back to Emma. Emma nodded quickly, sliding down the locker as they walked away. Her legs felt like jelly, not from fear, from the effort of holding back what wanted to burst free. The footsteps grew louder. Vice Principal Johnson rounded the corner, coffee in hand, whistling off-key. He walked past Emma without a glance. Invisible. Just how she needed to be. Emma gathered her scattered books, hands still trembling. The torn shoulder of her sweater flapped uselessly. She'd have to sew it during lunch. Again. "Wrong place, wrong time," she whispered to herself, repeating Chris's words. But it wasn't random. She'd been cleaning the science lab at 7:15 when she'd heard them through the supply closet door. New shipment from Mexico, twice as strong as the last batch. Coach know about this. Coach gets his cut. How else you think we went from last place to state championships? This stuff is insane. Rodriguez gained 20 pounds of muscle in a month. Oh, just don't miss the vein when you inject. Thompson did last week. His whole arm turned purple. That's when Emma had dropped her spray bottle. The sharp crack of plastic on linoleum might as well have been a gunshot. Now, 30 minutes later, she understood the weight of those words. The baseball team's miraculous transformation. The college scouts suddenly flooding their games. The way certain players' eyes looked glazed during practice. Steroids. The Golden Boys of Westfield High were juicing. Emma pulled herself up. cradling her books like armor. The main hallway was starting to fill with early arrivals. She needed to blend in, become invisible again. But 3 pairs of eyes tracked her movement from across the hall. Chris whispered something to Matt and David. They nodded, their expressions dark with promise. Emma's stomach twisted. She knew that look. She'd seen it before. In another life. In another school. Right before everything went wrong. The bell rang, sharp and sudden. Students flooded the hallway like a tide. Emma let herself be swept along. Just another face in the crowd. But she could feel their eyes on her. Watching. Waiting. She made it to first period English without incident. Slid into her back corner seat. Opened her notebook to a fresh page. Normal. Routine. Safe. "Good morning, class," Ms. Rodriguez began, writing on the board. "Today we're discussing the theme of power in Macbeth." Power. Emma's pencil snapped in her hand. She stared at the broken pieces, remembering another pencil, another time. When she was 11 and didn't understand why her friend Lily wouldn't wake up. "Emma," Ms. Rodriguez's voice cut through the memory. "Would you like to share your thoughts on how power corrupts?" 28 pairs of eyes turned to stare. Emma's throat went dry. I think power doesn't corrupt. It reveals who you really are." Interesting perspective. Can you elaborate? Before Emma could answer, the door burst open. Chris, Matt, and David strutted in, 20 minutes late. "Sorry, Ms. Rod," Chris flashed his 1,000-watt smile. "Coach needed us for strategy." Ms. Rodriguez sighed, but waved them to their seats. They had to pass Emma's desk to reach the back row. As Chris passed, his hand accidentally swept across her desk. Books, pencils, and papers scattered everywhere. The class snickered. "Oops," Chris said flatly. "Guess I don't know my own strength." Matt kicked Emma's notebook as he passed. David shoulder-checked her desk, making it screech against the floor. Emma didn't move, didn't react, just stared straight ahead as her belongings littered the ground. "Gentlemen," Ms. Rodriguez's voice was sharp. "That's enough." They took their seats, high-fiving quietly. Emma could hear them whispering, planning. The word lunchtime drifted over. She slowly gathered her things, movements careful and controlled. The heat was building again, spreading from her core to her limbs. Her muscles felt too big for her skin. No, not here, not again. Second period was chemistry with Mr. Patel. Emma usually loved this class, loved the precise measurements and predictable reactions, but today she couldn't focus. Every time someone moved behind her, she flinched. Every laugh felt directed at her. During the lab, her partner Jessica kept giving her strange looks. "You okay? Your hands are shaking." Emma looked down. The beaker in her grip had a hairline crack spreading across its surface. She set it down quickly. "I'm fine." "You sure? You look really pale." "Just tired." Emma forced a smile. Jessica didn't look convinced, but didn't push. Third period. History. Fourth period. Algebra. The morning crawled by like thick honey. Emma kept checking the clock, dreading what was coming. They'd said lunchtime. The cafeteria was their kingdom, where teachers rarely ventured and their power was absolute. When the lunch bell finally rang, Emma waited. Let the hungry masses rush out first. Maybe if she was late enough, they'd lose interest, find someone else to torment. She took her time packing up, organizing her notebooks with obsessive precision. By the time she reached the cafeteria, the lunch lines were already long. Perfect. She could grab something quick and find somewhere else to eat. The library, maybe. Or the empty music room. Emma grabbed a tray, keeping her head down. Just another invisible girl in a sea of teenagers. She reached for an apple when a hand clamped down on her wrist. There she is. David's voice was sing-song, mocking. Little mouse trying to hide. He steered her toward their table in the center of the cafeteria. The table everyone knew belonged to the baseball team. The table where Emma had never sat, never belonged, never wanted to be. Sit, Chris commanded, pointing to an empty chair. Emma's legs moved without her permission. The cafeteria noise seemed to dim, all eyes turning to watch this unexpected development. Emma Thompson at the popular table. Was this some kind of joke? So? Chris leaned back, casual as a cobra. Let's talk about this morning. Matt twirled a baseball bat pen between his fingers. Yeah, seemed like you were somewhere you shouldn't have been. I was just cleaning. Emma's voice came out steadier than she felt. It's my job. Your job, David repeated, laughing. That's right. You're the scholarship case, the charity project. Emma's jaw tightened. They all knew about her situation, how the school board had created a special work-study program just for her, how she mopped floors and cleaned classrooms to pay for her registration fees, how her aunt could barely afford to keep the lights on, let alone pay for school supplies. Here's the thing. Chris leaned forward, his voice dropping low. We've worked too hard to get where we are. College scouts are finally looking at us. We're going to state. Nothing's going to mess that up. Especially not some nobody with a mop bucket. I didn't hear anything. Emma lied. Chris studied her face. You sure about that? Because it seemed like you heard plenty. I was wearing headphones. Emma tried again. Music. Loud music. Really? Matt grabbed her backpack before she could stop him. He dumped it on the table. Books, papers, and pens scattered. No headphones. That's weird. No headphones here. The cafeteria was completely silent now. 300 students pretending not to watch while obviously watching. Even the lunch ladies had stopped serving to stare. Look, Emma's voice was barely a whisper. I just want to graduate. That's all. I don't care about anything else. See? That's smart. Chris nodded approvingly. Keep being smart, and maybe your little brother stays healthy too. Emma's blood turned to ice. What? Tommy, right? 7th grade severe asthma. David scrolled through his phone. Be a shame if something triggered an attack. Stress is bad for asthmatics, I heard. The heat exploded through Emma's body. The plastic tray in her hands creaked ominously. She forced herself to breathe. In through the nose, out through the mouth, just like Dr. Martinez taught her. You leave him alone, she managed through gritted teeth. Then you keep your mouth shut. Chris stood, towering over her. About everything. What you heard, what you know, everything. Or little Tommy might have a real bad semester. They walked away, leaving Emma surrounded by her scattered belongings. The cafeteria slowly returned to life, whispers spreading like wildfire. But one person didn't return to their lunch. Ashley Chen sat 3 tables away, her dark eyes fixed on Emma. She'd been watching the whole exchange with an expression Emma couldn't read. Anger, sympathy. Something else. Emma gathered her things quickly, shoving them back into her backpack. She needed to get out, find somewhere quiet, somewhere she could breathe without 300 eyes on her. She almost made it to the door when Ashley intercepted her. "Hey!" Ashley's voice was soft, but firm. "We need to talk." "I can't?" Emma tried to sidestep. "I have to. I know what they're doing." Ashley cut her off. "The steroids, the threats, all of it." Emma froze. "I don't know what you're talking about." "My sister went to Jefferson High." Ashley's voice cracked slightly. "Star swimmer, until she refused to take what the coach was offering. They made her life hell. Ashley paused, swallowing hard. "She took pills. Lots of pills. They found her in the pool house." "I'm sorry," Emma whispered, meaning it. "I couldn't save her." Ashley's eyes were fierce now. "But I'm not going to watch it happen again. Not here, not to anyone else." "There's nothing we can do," Emma said. "They own this school. Their parents own this town." That's what everyone at Jefferson said too. Ashley pulled out her phone. "Until the FBI showed up. Did you know distributing steroids to minors is a federal crime? That coach is doing 15 to 20 years now." Emma felt a spark of something she hadn't felt in years. Hope, maybe, or just the dangerous temptation to fight back. "I can't," she said finally. "You don't understand. I have reasons." "What reasons?" Ashley pressed. "What could be worse than letting them destroy more lives?" Emma almost told her. Almost explained about the genetic anomaly that made her dangerous. About what happened to Lily. About why she could never, ever lose control again. Instead, she just shook her head and walked away. The rest of the day was a blur of small torments. Her gym locker accidentally left open. Clothes soaked with something that smelled like rotten milk. Her homework mysteriously disappeared from her backpack. Whispers following her through the halls like smoke. By the time the final bell rang, Emma was exhausted. Not physically, her body thrummed with suppressed energy, but mentally, emotionally. She was running on empty. She waited until the halls cleared before heading to her locker. Just grab her stuff and go. Tommy would be waiting at the middle school. They'd walk home together like always, and she'd pretend everything was fine. Her locker was already open when she reached it. The lock hung useless, cut clean through. Inside was carnage. Her textbooks were shredded, pages torn out and scattered like confetti. Her spare sweater was sliced to ribbons, and taped to the back was a photo. Her family photo. The only one she had left. Mom, Dad, her, and baby Tommy at the beach. Everyone smiling. Everyone alive. Across their faces, someone had written in red marker, "Snitches end up like your parents. Dead." Emma's knees buckled. She slumped against the lockers, the photo clutched in her shaking hands. They couldn't know. No one knew. The car accident had been in another state, another life. But somehow they knew. "Oh my God!" Ashley's voice came from behind. "Emma, I just saw. We have to report this. This is evidence." Emma turned, and Ashley stepped back at whatever she saw in her face. "They know about my parents." Emma's voice was hollow. "They know everything." "How is that possible?" "Money buys a lot of information." Emma stood slowly, still holding the defaced photo. "They're not just bullies. They're connected, dangerous." "More reason to stop them," Ashley insisted. "My sister thought she was alone too, but you're not. I'm here. Others will help if we just—" "No," Emma cut her off. "You need to stay away from me, for your own good." "Like hell." Ashley's chin lifted defiantly. "I told you. I'm not letting this happen again. We're going to Principal Sherman. Now." Emma almost laughed. "Sherman? who wore a Westfield baseball booster pin every day, Sherman, whose son graduated 3 years ago on a baseball scholarship. He definitely didn't earn. Sherman would bury this faster than they could blink. He won't help, Emma said simply. Then we go over his head. School board, police, FBI if we have to. With what proof? My word against theirs. Ashley pulled out her phone. I've been recording them for weeks. Not enough for court, maybe, but enough to start an investigation. Emma stared at her. This girl she barely knew, fighting a war that wasn't hers, for a sister she couldn't save. Why do you care so much? Emma asked. You don't even know me. Because someone should have cared about Melody. Ashley's voice broke on her sister's name. Someone should have stood up. I can't change what happened to her, but I can change what happens next. Before Emma could respond, footsteps echoed from the stairwell, multiple sets, moving fast. Ashley grabbed Emma's arm. We need to go. Now. But it was too late. Chris, Matt, and David emerged from the stairwell, baseball bats in hand. Practice had been canceled. Emma realized. They'd been waiting. Well, well, Chris smiled, but it didn't reach his eyes. Looks like Trash Girl made a friend. Back off, Harrison. Ashley stepped forward, phone raised. I'm recording everything. Matt's bat connected with Ashley's phone in one smooth motion. It flew across the hall, shattering against the wall. Oops, Matt shrugged. Butterfingers. You just destroyed evidence, Ashley snapped. That's a crime. Prove it, David challenged. Your word against ours. Who do you think they'll believe? Emma pulled Ashley behind her. The heat was building fast now, spreading through her limbs like liquid fire. Her muscles coiled, ready to explode. Let us go, Emma said carefully. This doesn't involve her. Actually, it does now. Chris stepped closer. Anyone who knows our business is involved. But don't worry, we have a solution. He pulled out a small vial from his pocket. Clear liquid sloshed inside. Know what this is? He held it up to the light. GHB party drug makes you forget things. Also makes you real suggestible. One dose and you won't remember anything about today. Or this week. Maybe even this month. Emma's control snapped. Not the full break. Not the explosion that had sent Lily flying. But enough that when David reached for Ashley, Emma's hand shot out faster than humanly possible. She caught his wrist mid-grab, squeezed just hard enough to make him yelp, then released before anyone could process what happened. David stumbled back, cradling his wrist. What the hell? How did you— Lucky reflexes, Emma said quickly. Too quickly. Chris's eyes narrowed. That wasn't normal. Nothing about this is normal, Ashley interjected, trying to deflect. You're threatening us with drugs. That's kidnapping. Assault. Multiple felonies. Big words, Matt mocked. Your dead sister teach you those. The silence that followed was deafening. Even Chris looked uncomfortable. Ashley went very still. When she spoke, her voice was deadly quiet. What did you just say? You heard me. Matt doubled down, too stupid to recognize danger. Maybe if she wasn't such a weak little— Ashley lunged, not with Emma's inhuman speed, but with pure rage. She got one good hit in before Chris caught her, pinning her arms. Let her go! Emma stepped forward, fists clenched. The heat was overwhelming now, begging for release. Or what? Chris challenged. What are you going to do? Trash girl! The lights flickered, just for a second. But Emma felt it, the surge of power that could bend metal and shatter bone. She was losing control. "Please," she whispered, "just let us go. I'll quit school. Transfer. Whatever you want." Too late for that. David rubbed his wrist, glaring. "You know too much, both of you." And he reached into his backpack, pulling out zip ties. "Janitor's closet is soundproof. We tested it. Few hours in there with our little chemistry project, and you'll both be much more cooperative." Emma had a choice. Let them take her and Ashley, hope they'd really just drug them and not something worse, or fight back and risk exposing what she really was. She looked at Ashley, still struggling in Chris's grip, thought of her sister Melody, who had no one to fight for her, thought of Tommy, waiting at the middle school, thought of all the kids who'd suffer if these three weren't stopped. The choice was made. "I'm sorry," Emma whispered. "For what?" Chris asked. Emma's eyes met his. "For what happens next?" The building shook. The floor tiles cracked beneath Emma's feet as the power surged through her body. Every muscle fiber ignited with strength she'd suppressed for 6 years. "What the hell?" David stumbled backward as the lockers around them began to rattle. Emma's transformation wasn't visible on the outside. No glowing eyes or dramatic wind, just a subtle shift in her posture. The way she held herself, like a predator finally deciding to hunt. "Let Ashley go." Emma's voice was different now. Calm, certain, dangerous. "This is your only warning." Chris laughed nervously, tightening his grip on Ashley. "Nice special effects. Trash. What did you do? Mess with the electrical panel?" Emma took one step forward. The floor tile beneath her foot cracked like spider-webbed glass. Matt's bat trembled in his hands. "Dude, something's not right." "Shut up," Chris snapped, but sweat beaded on his forehead. "She's just trying to scare us." "No," Emma said softly. "I'm trying to save you." She moved, not running, not lunging. Just a fluid shift from standing still to being directly in front of Chris. The distance covered in less than a heartbeat. Chris didn't even have time to react before Emma's fingers wrapped around his wrist. Not squeezing, just holding. But Chris's face went white as he felt the immovable force of her grip. "Let her go." Chris released Ashley like she was made of fire. Ashley stumbled away, eyes wide with shock. "Emma, what?" "Run," Emma commanded without looking at her. "Get to the main office. Call 911. Tell them everything." "I'm not leaving you. Go!" The word carried enough force to make Ashley flinch. She backed away, then turned and ran. Emma released Chris's wrist. He cradled it against his chest, though she hadn't hurt him. Yet. "What are you?" David whispered. Emma's shoulders sagged slightly. The question she'd been running from since she was 11 years old. "I'm someone who tried very hard to be nobody," she said quietly. "To hide. To never hurt anyone again, but you wouldn't let me." Matt swung his bat. It was a good swing, full force. The kind that had won him dozens of games. The kind that should have connected with Emma's skull. Emma caught it one-handed. The impact should have driven her back. Should have broken her hand. Instead, the bat stopped dead, like hitting a concrete wall. The shock traveled up Matt's arms, making him cry out. Emma yanked the bat away, her movement effortless, in her hands. The solid aluminum crumpled like tissue paper. She dropped the mangled remains at Matt's feet. 6 years ago, Emma began, her voice eerily calm. I discovered what I was. what I could do, when my best friend made me angry over something stupid. A toy. A stupid toy. The three boys backed against the lockers as Emma continued. I pushed her. Just a little push, like kids do. Emma's voice cracked. She flew 10 feet backward. Her head hit the stairs. There was so much blood. You're lying, Chris managed. That's impossible. Emma walked to the nearest locker, placed her palm flat against the metal, pushed gently. The locker crumpled inward like it was made of cardboard. The sound of twisting metal echoed through the empty hallway. The doctors called it a genetic anomaly, explosive strength syndrome. 1 in 10 million, they said. When my adrenaline spikes, my muscles can generate 10 times normal human force. David made a run for it. Emma didn't chase him. She simply grabbed the back of his jacket as he passed. His momentum stopped instantly, feet skidding on the floor. Lily survived, Emma continued, holding David in place without effort. Barely. 3 surgeries, months of physical therapy. She never spoke to me again. How could she? I was a monster. Please, David whimpered. We're sorry. We'll leave you alone. Oh, now you're sorry. Emma's grip tightened slightly. After threatening my brother, after destroying my things, after trying to drug us. She released David with a small push. He flew backward 5 feet, landing hard but uninjured. The boys huddled together, all pretense of dominance gone. My parents were driving me to a special facility. Emma's voice was hollow now. Somewhere I could learn control. Somewhere I couldn't hurt anyone. The truck came out of nowhere. Drunk driver. They died protecting me. And the sick joke, I walked away without a scratch. This body that breaks everything it touches survived while they didn't. Sirens wailed in the distance, getting closer. So I made myself invisible. Emma continued. Moved here with my aunt. Took medication to suppress the adrenaline. Avoided conflict. Avoided everything. Because I knew if I ever lost control again, people would get hurt. We won't tell anyone, Chris pleaded. We'll confess to the steroids. Take the punishment. Just please. You think I'm going to hurt you? Emma laughed bitterly. You still don't get it. I've been protecting you. From me. Every single day you pushed me, threatened me, hurt me. I was fighting not to fight back. Because I knew what would happen if I did. She gestured to the destroyed lockers, the cracked floor, the mangled bat. This is me being gentle. This is me holding back. You have no idea what I could do if I really let go. The sirens were right outside now. Doors burst open at the end of the hall. Police officers, Principal Sherman, and Ashley leading the charge. Freeze everyone, stay where you are. Emma raised her hands slowly. I'm not a threat. They're not injured. Much. The officers approached cautiously, taking in the destruction. One of them whistled low. What happened here? Ashley stepped forward. They attacked us. Emma defended us. I have everything on video. She held up a second phone, uploaded to the cloud the moment they cornered us. Chris's head snapped up. You said Matt broke your phone. He did. Ashley smiled coldly. My decoy phone. You think I'd confront drug dealers with my only evidence I'm not my sister? Principal Sherman looked between the destroyed property and his star players. There must be an explanation. There is. Officer Martinez, the school resource officer, held up his tablet. We just got a warrant to search their lockers based on Miss Chen's recordings. Found enough performance enhancers to supply half the team. That's not ours, David protested. Really? Officer Washington pulled out an evidence bag. Because this vial has your fingerprints on it. The one you were planning to use on these girls? Emma watched as they cuffed the three boys. Chris looked back at her, fear and something else in his eyes. Understanding, maybe, of how close he'd come to real disaster. Miss Thompson. Principal Sherman approached carefully. The damage to school property was caused by 3 students attacking 2 others. Officer Martinez interrupted. Clear case of self-defense, though we'll need to understand how. He gestured at the crumpled lockers. Emma met his eyes steadily. Adrenaline, fear. I don't really remember. It happened so fast. He studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Trauma can cause unusual reactions. We'll need full statements from both girls. As they led the boys away, Matt started crying. My arm. I think my arm is broken. From the fall, Officer Washington noted. When you attacked Miss Thompson and fell. Right. Matt nodded quickly, understanding the out he was being given. Yeah, from the fall. 2 hours later. Emma sat in the police station's interview room. She'd given her statement 3 times, each time carefully editing around the truth. Ashley backed her up, describing Emma's defense as lucky moves and desperation strength. The door opened. A woman in an expensive suit entered, followed by a familiar face that made Emma's heart stop. Hello, Emma, Dr. Martinez smiled warmly. It's been a long time. How did you... Your aunt called me the moment she heard. Dr. Martinez sat across from her. She's been updating me on your progress. 6 years without a major incident. That's remarkable. I lost control today. No. Dr. Martinez shook her head. You defended yourself and another student while maintaining incredible restraint. Do you realize those boys have no serious injuries? Some bruising, 1 possible fracture from a fall, but nothing that won't heal completely. I destroyed property. Property can be replaced. Lives can't. The doctor leaned forward. Emma, what you did today wasn't losing control. It was choosing when to use your strength. That's growth. Emma felt tears building. I was so scared. Not of them, of myself, of becoming the monster again. You were never a monster, Dr. Martinez said firmly. You were a child with a condition you didn't understand. Today, you're a young woman who used her abilities to protect someone. That's not monstrous. That's heroic. The woman in the suit spoke up. I'm Rebecca Chen, Ashley's mother. I wanted to thank you personally. My daughter told me everything. How you tried to protect her even before you had to fight. I'm sorry about your other daughter, Emma said softly. Melody. Rebecca's eyes filled with tears. Melody was failed by people who should have protected her. You didn't fail Ashley. You saved her. A knock on the door interrupted them. Emma's aunt burst in, followed by a smaller figure in a wheelchair. Tommy. Emma stood so fast, her chair fell over. Her little brother wheeled himself forward, his face serious behind his thick glasses. Hi, Em. You shouldn't be here. Your treatments. Forget the treatments, Tommy interrupted. My sister's a superhero and nobody told me. Emma knelt beside his wheelchair. Tommy, I'm not. Yes, you are, he said firmly. Ashley sent me the video. You caught a baseball bat. You saved her. You're literally a superhero. I'm dangerous. No, Tommy grabbed her hands. You're my sister, and you're amazing. And I'm really mad you didn't tell me I was related to someone with actual superpowers. Emma laughed through her tears, hugging him carefully, always carefully. Also, Tommy whispered in her ear, Michael says hi. Emma pulled back. Michael. My cousin Michael. Tommy grinned. He's the one who edited the steroid video that went viral. Did you know he's been in a wheelchair since he was 12? Some drunk kid pushed him down the stairs at school. He says he forgives you for what happened with Lily. He says accidents happen, but choosing to be good is what matters. The tears came freely now. 6 years of guilt and self-hatred began to crack like the floor tiles under her feet. The boys made a deal, Officer Martinez announced, returning to the room. Full confession to the steroid ring in exchange for reduced sentences. Chris Harrison gave up his father as the supplier. We're looking at a major federal case now. What about Emma? Her aunt asked anxiously. The property damage. What property damage? Officer Martinez winked. According to all witnesses, the 3 boys caused all damage during their attack. Case closed. As they prepared to leave, Ashley appeared in the doorway. She ran to Emma, hugging her tightly. Thank you, she whispered, for choosing to fight, for showing me that strength isn't about never falling down. It's about choosing to stand up. 3 months later, Emma stood in front of the rebuilt section of hallway. The new lockers gleamed. The floor tiles were perfectly smooth. No trace of that November afternoon remained in the physical space. But everything else had changed. The baseball team had been disbanded pending investigation. 12 students had come forward about harassment and drugging. Chris was serving 2 years in juvenile detention. Matt and David got 18 months each. Coach Williams was facing 20 years for drug distribution to minors. Emma wasn't invisible anymore. She couldn't be, after the video went viral. Trash Girl Hero had trended for a week. News stations had clamored for interviews. She politely declined. Instead, she focused on what mattered. Therapy with Dr. Martinez twice a week. Training at a special gym for people with enhanced abilities, apparently. She wasn't as alone as she'd thought, volunteering at the hospital with Tommy and Michael, who'd become instant best friends bonded by their wheelchairs and terrible jokes. You ready? Ashley appeared beside her, holding 2 steaming cups of coffee. First self-defense class starts in 10 minutes. Emma accepted the coffee gratefully. After everything, she and Ashley had created a program teaching vulnerable students how to protect themselves, not with superhuman strength, but with confidence, awareness, and basic defensive moves. Nervous, Emma admitted. What if they're scared of me? They're not scared of you, Ashley said firmly. They're inspired by you. You showed them that everyone has power. They just need to learn how to use it. Students began filing into the gym. Not just the usual victims, but former bullies, too. Kids who'd realized the culture needed to change. Parents who wanted their children to learn real strength. Emma watched Tommy wheel himself to the front row, his inhaler nowhere to be seen. His new treatment was working. Funded by an anonymous donation from someone who'd seen their story online. He gave her 2 thumbs up. Hi, everyone, Emma began, her voice carrying across the gym. I'm Emma Thompson. Some of you know my story. But I'm not here to talk about what I can do. I'm here to talk about what you can do. She looked at the eager faces, seeing herself in their fear and hope. Real strength isn't about hurting others. It's about protecting those who can't protect themselves. It's about choosing to stand up even when you're terrified. It's about knowing that your power, whatever it is, comes with responsibility. A hand shot up, a tiny 6th grader with thick glasses. What if we're not strong like you? Emma smiled, thinking of Lily, who'd forgiven her through a letter last month. Of her parents, whose sacrifice meant she could stand here today. Of every moment she'd chosen restraint over revenge. "Strength comes in many forms," Emma said. "Ashley's strength was her refusal to let her sister's death be meaningless. My brother's strength is facing each day with joy despite his challenges. Your strength might be your voice, your art, your kindness, or your courage to ask for help." She moved to the center of the mat, Ashley beside her. "Today, we're going to learn that everyone has power. The question is, what will you do with yours?" As the class began, Emma caught her reflection in the mirror. Not a monster, not a victim, not invisible. Just a girl who'd learned that true strength wasn't about breaking things. It was about choosing what to protect. Outside the gym windows, storm clouds gathered on the horizon. But inside, 50 voices counted in unison, learning to stand their ground. Emma Thompson had spent 6 years hiding from her power. Now she was teaching others to find theirs. The building didn't shake anymore when she walked. The tiles didn't crack beneath her feet. Not because she was weaker, but because she was finally, truly, in control. And that was the greatest strength of all. 6 months later, Emma stood at graduation in a cap and gown that actually fit. No more threadbare sweaters. No more invisible girl. "Emma Thompson!" Principal Sherman called. The auditorium erupted in applause. As she walked across the stage, Emma saw them all. Dr. Martinez in the front row, tears in her eyes. Tommy and Michael, out of their wheelchairs for the first time, standing with the help of new experimental braces. Her aunt, finally able to smile without worry lines creasing her face. And there, in the middle section, a familiar face she hadn't expected. "Strength isn't measured in what you can break," Emma said, her voice clear and strong. "It's measured in what you choose to build. Today, we've built something together. A school where everyone belongs. Where power protects instead of punishes. Where no one has to hide who they are." She raised her diploma high. "This isn't my victory. It's ours. All of us who chose to stand up, speak out, and change what needed changing. We are all stronger than we know." The standing ovation shook the building. But this time, it wasn't Emma's power causing it. It was everyone's.